And I knew the minute I got the first phone call, zillion years ago, where it was coming from. But it's okay. So you go on over there. I said, do you know the different groupings? Yeah, there's this, that. I said, yeah, well, what are they going to think of you? I said, everybody else that speaks any English have been trying to get out of there with their life. And you're going to come back from here and you're going to go over there and they're going to trust you and love you and think you there. They'd have just blew up the whole country twice, 3 times, and nothing functions. And you're going to come there speaking Arabic with an English accent. That'll be great. That's why I call it crackpotism, because I don't mean to bring up all of this stuff, but every day I'm bombarded with buffoonery. And at this time, little things. Look, when we went over there and was handing out that food, that was simple, but it was so successful that it discombobulated them. I mean, they were right. We went over this before, but just imagine. Negrocious is over there with his crew, the other Negro youths going around raising funds. Now, I know Negrocious when I talk about the 2 pots of beans, black beans disappearance, when I talk about getting a call from the federal penitentiary after somebody had done so many years. After all, I mean, I know what I'm dealing with. Before we started this process that we're in now, in 2006, we were already from Jump Street. When we opened up, we knew what we was dealing with already. The day I opened the Masjid about, of course I went right back to the penitentiary. Then when I got out, boop, somebody come from up in Oregon, a Negro Imam from Cleveland with a white wife. Now this girl was healthy. You know, white girls used to didn't be healthy, what we mean healthy. But now they're moving along. I guess they're eating more. But you remember, look at any old movie. White women are stick women. Oh, I don't care whether it's the ones they consider the most beautiful, Ruth Roman and all of them. They're sticks straight up and down. You know, they called Marilyn Monroe the blonde bombshell. 22, 36, 36. That was unbelievable in those days. That girl, if they had a white paper bag test that you had to be certain shape to get in, she couldn't get in nowadays, right, with the women nowadays. The women are in the gym working out, running, and they, you know, at 50 years old, they still looking, you know what I mean, presentable. And at 60, some of them are looking like human beings. And some of them keep it on, you know, so, but in those days when you hit a certain thing, it was all over. So today, at that time, that was a healthy lady. Now they figure I just come out of the pen, I'm black, da 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 da, so I'm gonna move on white women, you know. I'm gonna make a move. And the woman was hitting, you know, and I told them, y'all, I looked up, they was in the masjid stand. I told them, y'all got to go, you know. And I was the same thing. I said, if somebody, I just got out of the penitentiary, and anything that lady says is going to go, they're going to say, well, he couldn't help it because she was white, so, you know, and healthy too, you know. So built like a Negro woman in those times, you know, and so they, you know, whatever they said would go. I mean, you know. So I said, no, y'all got to get on out of here. And the brothers, or one of the brothers that was kind of helping me, he was against it. You should, I said, no, man, ain't no way. I ain't doing that. Anyway, so the next time I heard from the lady, she called me at 12 o'clock at night when it was pouring down rain, talking about come and pick her up and take her somewhere. I said, I'll call you a cab, lady. And this is years later. And then right after that, she pulled up with a guy named John. I guess kind of pregnant or something. And I said, well, that's the way they work. And I already understand all of what I'm dealing with. And the stuff that they use is childish. They figure that everybody, for instance, if you use this type of thing, if you use pretty women on Abdul Malik, it would work because that's what he do. You know, he wavy-headed on the campus, the president of the student body, you know. So he got an image, self-image. And you could tell because some of the girls on campus, for a few years, they keep calling and coming by, you know what I mean, from the university. They just visiting, but it looks like they visiting for certain reasons. So, and in the curly-headed crew, there's certain people that, I tell you, there's a guy here that jumped on TV the other week about Malcolm. And he was pretending to be an Imam here. And he went down to Dixie for over a year. And just in conversation, he was saying, no, man, if you're certain light skin tone, these people are down south. They similarly like that here, but down south, they still, you know, if you're over anything near light, you get 3 extra stars by your name automatically, you know. On the other hand, the way I'll put it is this. We have learned and understood how our people and their people and that people function. And we've been able to use all of it for our, I feel that's why we're here. We've been able to use all of it for an example. We had a program here, and on one Sunday, the Halle Berry lady called, and she was saying, I'm ready to go to California. I don't know if anybody remember that. Yeah, I'm ready to go to California. And so when I got to the door, one of the brothers said, yeah, you did a little skip there at the door. I said, yeah. I said, but it wasn't because of what you thought. It was because that kicked in. That kicked in. And that kicking in was not what I'm ready to go to California. No, this explains or reinforces what we've been knowing all the time. And this personality, see, people will misinterpret kindness and uncertainty about maybe you like somebody or something. Well, no. If everybody's making fun of the sister, she's down there living in a trailer. She's living like she should have been all the time. She done turned the trailer trash, you know. And no, that's what they're talking about in California, you know. And I had said years before, I said, hey, your wife is, I used the word surreptitious, that means, and Because when I would go there, it was always cut off, ease up, and then if somebody come through the door, zipping back this and that. And then I looked at their behavior too, like one of the brother that was married to this lady. When we call her Halle Berry at that time, that's just about what she looked like. Not only physically, face, but her shape. Everything was right on. The curly hair, the wavy hair, part of the curly-headed crew. Everything that the average Negro would respond to, you know. And whatever was going on, it was a management thing going on. So Abdul Malik was doing her like this, snapping his finger and pointing, and she would jump and do that. So I told him, I said, man, niggas don't do no people like, we don't do people like that. I said, we help elevate people. If you see something in somebody where they're missing something, you're an imam. You help them get there. You don't abuse. I said, that's the white man does that. That's what I said. That's the white man. He does that, snapping his finger, and people jump. Why they jump? Maybe they want to keep their position. Maybe they're in us. That it doesn't make a difference. You're a healer. You're not here to add on to that. But anyway, let me get into back where I was. So everybody is reading the same newspaper from their view. No matter what the newspapers say, they're interpreting it that this is what it says. He's this kind of brother, he's that age, and he's from that class of people, and therefore he would do that. Well, they couldn't read and write because by that time I was in the 13th or 14th year of celibacy. And there's no Negro Imam that got no record like that. They just don't. They don't. They might, but they wouldn't have no reason to. And that was my reason. Discipline, management, self-control, and all of that stuff, and not wanting to. So they would load the bases up. Every time one woman coming through with one pitch, another woman coming through with another pitch. I mean, they going to load up the bases, especially when you're rejecting it. And then the poor people in Oakland used to think, because I slept in the back on the floor, they thought the guy is lonely. So I would go over to the lights and I would flick the lights. Okay, at family night, it's time for y'all to go. I got to go get some rest. I got to get up in the morning and run the hills. I had a schedule. And they was hanging around because they thought they're going home to their family, that I was there lonely. I was there happy. They were going back to families with kids running all around and throwing stuff, and them arguing, rolling their eyes at each other, the wife and the husband. That's what they going through. I wasn't having none of that. Because I was there, and the only thing I deal with what's before me, and boss man, let me get back on schedule. So if we go back to where we start with, we can see where Ikna and Isna is coming from. We can see basically, does everybody feel the same way about this as I do? That you can get a feeling of where they're trying to go, what they hold in high esteem, and who, and basically what their program is. You could see it. Okay. Uh, our program and our platform is different. Okay. So I'm going to just jump right into what this week we'll go to PGMA and we'll have our loudspeaker, of course, but we won't be fundraising. We'll just be, here's something, whatever they do, it's up to them. And that's tomorrow. We'll do some cooking tonight. What we want to have for the menu, we already had a chicken ready, and I may make some spaghetti. But and of course we're gonna have vegetables and rice, but I don't want to have too many starches. But it might be okay, and a salad. So that'll be the meal. It'll be 4 things.